When we left the UK in July, we didn't really know what to expect. With less than 200 nautical miles sailing experience, we undertook the challenge of sailing our 28-foot boat across the Bay of Biscay and down to the Mediterranean. We've loved adapting to this new lifestyle and feel at home on the sea, though we still have so much to learn. In the past 5 months, we've experienced so many firsts: our first offshore passage, our first wildlife encounters on our own boat, our first foggy nights, our first pan-pan, our first goodbyes to friends that we've met along the way. These videos are us sharing our real and honest experiences that we gather from a life at sea. It's going to be a crazy ride.
So, where are we in the world right now? We're actually in the middle of England. Oh my god, we're not in Spain.
That's it, we've packed up talisman, we've left, the dream is over. Just kidding! So obviously we have flew back to England for the winter. There's a few reasons for that. We'd planned to come back for Christmas anyway, to see family, and we had a feeling that we would need to come back for a few months. One, to top up our boat funds, but also two, we had no choice but to reset our Schengen visas. So we were allowed 90 days in the EU, 90 days out of the EU. And what that means for us is that we can either fly back to England to reset it, or we can sail to a non-Schengen country with our boat and reset it there. Obviously you guys sent some really useful suggestions on countries that we can go to reset our visas. It just so happened that this year it just worked out better for us to fly back to England. And to be honest, top up our cruising kitty is a main thing about why we flew back.
Yes.
You've all been super helpful on buying me a coffee and just so generous, and all your support has meant that we're able to monetize on YouTube as well, and all those things have meant that we can cruise up until this point. We first needed the rescue after our Biscay crossing. We genuinely thought we were going to be flying back home to Birmingham straight away. Genuinely, I don't think we ever really spoke about this. It was a bit of a hazy time,
yeah.
But we were already planning that we would have to come back to Birmingham because we couldn't find a job and we couldn't work in the EU easily anymore either.
No.
Like we couldn't find an odd bar job and do that or anything. So we were thinking about flying back to Birmingham then. And you guys, without us even asking, were just so supportive and so generous. And that kind of meant that we could make these videos and we could carry on cruising for the sailing season, which was just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We're staying with family at the minute and we plan to earn a little bit of money, and then next season we're hoping we'll be able to cruise for much longer by using some of the ideas that you guys suggested. So using some of the non-Schengen zones in the Mediterranean is probably what we'll be doing next season to reset.
One of the things that we thought would be quite useful for you guys is talking about basically the whole experience and was it what we expected. The first thing, and probably one of the most significant things that probably wasn't what we expected, was the weather. And that's not to say that we didn't have good weather crossing the Bay of Biscay, but I'd say our expectations of the weather when we first got to Spain and sailing down the Portuguese coast was very foggy, and it was a lot colder than we first thought it would be. When you think about, we're gonna get to Spain, it's gonna be lovely, it's gonna be warm, and it wasn't that warm.
You're beautiful. Say hello to the Chasing Currents family.
Aww.
Say nice to meet you. I was not expecting to wear my foul weather gear, to be honest, at all.
Was you expecting
I think I was naive, but I heard Spain and I was like, it's hot.
Well, this is the other misconception as well. So a lot of people say, oh, the north of Spain is very similar to Britain. We left the UK though, it was very warm.
That's true.
And when we got to the north of Spain, it was not as warm as the UK.
So yeah, I think that wasn't what we were expecting.
So something that we didn't expect again was to see blue sharks, like 30 blue sharks in a marina, or a shoal of, like a big shoal of fish in a marina. These were things that we just didn't think we thought we'd see them while sailing.
So I guess the next point is probably anchoring. And we'll go into a different video all about anchoring in marinas and costs and things like that, as well as what we would recommend as good anchorages that we stayed in and not so good ones. So that'll be a whole other video. But what I will say is it wasn't always what we expected. I think the rears, a lot of people did already say this, but we just kind of didn't think it would be as good as it was for some reason. And still, I think in terms of anchorages, some of the best we stayed in were northern Spain and the Rias. I think they were some of the most picturesque, beautiful, calm, protected anchorages. So I totally get why people say spend longer in the Rias. The only reason it wouldn't really suit us is purely because, you know, it's colder and the water's colder. Basically. I think sailing down Portugal, as we expected, there is no anchorages or hardly no anchorages, which meant we spent a lot more money than we'd hoped in marinas.
Yeah.
That's kind of another reason why I would say, not that we skipped a lot of it, but we did sail very fast down the Portuguese coast. Well, not that fast, but fastish.
Yeah. We didn't stay in places
We didn't linger
very
in
long.
places very long, and that was just because of the cost of marinas. If there had been anchorages, I think we actually probably would have spent a little bit longer in some places.
Definitely.
And also, I think the Portuguese Algarve and south of Spain, the anchorages weren't as good as we'd hoped.
No.
Maybe it's something to do with us in our planning, maybe we need to get better at that, but at every anchorage that we went in, it was very rolling. We didn't sleep very well for the entire time from the Portuguese Algarve, probably to Almerimar. I think we didn't sleep well.
No, I know that some of you were thinking, is there anything we could have done? Like, could we have put a stern anchor out and like flapper stoppers, which like reduce the amount of roll on the boat? Yes, we could have done those things. We were just not really. Well, we didn't do it essentially, so we suffered the consequences. We haven't really got anything to like stop the roll, but we could have done a stern anchor.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't.
No, but I think a few of you guys, obviously these videos aren't in real time, which means when you guys have suggested something, we haven't been able to change it because we've actually, those videos are from a while ago, if that makes sense. So, but reading through some of your suggestions, there's quite a few useful things, and I think next year we'll try a few more things.
Implement some of these
to make
suggestions.
It more comfortable. The big question is, has it cost more than we thought? And I'm not going to go into too much detail now because we are going to do a whole other video on all the costs, how much everything's cost, all that kind of stuff. But to summarise really briefly, I would say it's been more than we thought. Mainly we didn't take into account as well, that's another thing we didn't mention with weather actually, was motoring.
Yes.
We've motored a lot more than we thought and a lot more than we'd hoped, so the fuel costs have been higher. We haven't quite worked everything out yet to know how much, but I know it's been more than we thought.
Yeah.
So I think fuel costs, marina costs have been a lot more than we thought, unfortunately. So based on that, the cost has been slightly higher. But in terms of like living costs and any like boat issues, like boat repairs,
fixing stuff, maintenance.
We haven't paid like a penny on any of that stuff. We haven't had to do anything to Talisman, so that part's been what we would hope.
Very lucky.
Cheap. And that kind of moves on to, I guess, food as well and food provisioning. Despite what you lot think, we don't live on crisp sandwiches. We don't. It's not true. So that's why our provisions are cheap. That's what we eat.
With food provisioning, I would say that has actually been a lot easier and a lot more accessible, and the cost has been kind of around what we thought though.
Yeah, I'd say around similar to UK prices.
Similar to UK prices. The hardest thing is probably walking if the supermarket's a very long way away.
Yeah.
There was only a couple of times where it was like that.
So moving on from food, I guess the other biggest question we get is, what's it like living on a small boat? Have we found it easy? Do we wish we had a bigger boat? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the short answer is no. I would say we don't wish we had a bigger boat and we like our boat.
We absolutely love our boat. I find it's the perfect size for us, and we don't, I mean, it's, everyone's different. Everyone has a different opinion of what's a livable space. We actually just don't need a lot of space.
No. If anything, I would say it's been easier than we thought. Obviously you kind of have to, you know, shuffle around each other, and sometimes, like, does Bryn snoring get on my nerves? Like, if I have to be honest, I would say yes, it gets on my nerves. But it's so minor, like, on the scale of things, and I honestly feel like we've just settled into it now.
Yeah.
Like, we've just settled into it, and it actually feels really, really comfortable. You know, if the inside space ever got too claustrophobic, it really doesn't matter, because you've got the deck, you've got outside your boat, you've got the water, you've got land. I just don't think, it hasn't been an issue for us, to be honest.
No.
I find it really comfortable. Yeah, all the elements that tie into that, you know, of like storage, like food storage, water storage, clothes, all that kind of extra stuff. Like none of that's been an issue. Plenty of storage, plenty of room, and overall I would just say yes, we found it really easy and it's been what we were expecting.
Now something that this actually leads into is obviously that was us living on a small boat, but actually something that's kind of on the same track is a small boat and the elements around it. So yes, it is a small boat and we do feel more of what's going on. So when we're sailing, the waves, we feel them. When we're at anchor, if there's a little bit of a roll, we've seen bigger boats, they're not moving as much. So there is that aspect to having a smaller boat as well, that the elements are going to affect you a little bit more.
That's been not what we were expecting. I think we didn't quite appreciate how much you do feel things on smaller boats.
Yes.
And like, it's not that it was scary or like we didn't trust the boat or anything like that, it's just you do feel it, and we kind of underestimated that I think as well. That on Talisman, you know, 2 metre waves feel absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And maybe we're just wimps, like there's a very good chance that's true. But you know, for us, it does feel like big. I think Talisman has, I guess you could say, performed better than we'd expected in some ways.
Definitely, definitely.
We hadn't had time to build up that kind of trust with our boat before we left for Biscay, to be honest. We did that 135-hour sail, but really we were just kind of going off what we'd heard and what we'd read, like the previous owner and things like that, because we hadn't really experienced it for ourselves with Talisman, what she would be like in certain conditions. So I think obviously when we got to Falmouth, that really reinforced our confidence in our boat, but crossing Biscay was just such an eye-opener as to what these little boats can be capable of, I think.
It was incredible.
Yeah, and down the Portuguese coast as well. Well, no, I don't want to go any spoilers, but I would say it's given us confidence now, against all advice that you guys are probably going to give us, that we think we could do the Atlantic crossing now on this boat.
Yes.
At some point.
So
we think we could do that.
There's some aspects to what we've just done and some lessons that we've learned as to how we could have done it better.
Yeah.
We were actually really, you know, amazed at how well we did do, but you can always improve, and we've learned more things. So some of the sailing techniques and, you know, using sails properly, or we used a jib, quite a small jib, because we were scared of the heavier weather. I actually feel like now we could have used the Genoa, and we have got a Genoa on the boat, so we're going to start playing with that when we get back on the boat.
Yeah.
So with what we've learned, I'm starting to think the Atlantic is looking pretty good. So the next thing that I think hasn't been exactly what we expected is actually making videos. I would say we have, one, enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than we knew we would enjoy it because we like making videos anyway, but actually having you guys the other side interacting with us, it's just put a whole nother spin on it.
We didn't know how we'd feel about kind of putting everything out there, our little world, like out there for you guys. Like we didn't really know how we'd feel with like the comments, the negative comments as well as the good comments. We didn't know how we'd kind of feel about that. But we've had a great time, we've loved it.
It has been so cool. And again, down to like talking to you guys, it's give us either ideas or inspiration even.
The actual making of the videos probably wasn't what we expected. The editing, obviously, it's a learning curve. It's been a learning curve for me. Bryn already kind of knew quite a bit about editing from his previous jobs. But we've just kind of found that I actually enjoy editing them more than Bryn, really.
And she's actually better than me.
I don't know. I think we've got different styles, but I don't think I'm not better.
So that was something we definitely didn't expect. I remember when we were first making videos and we had conversations, and I was like, "Don't worry, I'll edit all the videos. It'll be," and then I just didn't.
Yeah.
Jade started editing the videos pretty early on.
So yeah, that wasn't what we were expecting either. We've enjoyed it more than we thought, but it's also harder than we thought. So yeah, that's what we'd say about the videos.
Yeah.
In conclusion, it hasn't been what we expected, but also it's been better in a lot of ways.
Yes.
There's been like ups and downs, and although some aspects obviously aren't what we were expecting, I think the overall experience is exactly what we were expecting, in that it was going to be a mad adventure and it was going to be hard, but it was also going to be really satisfying and really fun.
Yeah, fulfilling.
And that we knew it was going to be a learning curve, and it has been. It is hard in some ways and it is full of challenges, but equally I think the way we've adapted to it, at no point have we felt like, oh my god, like this is impossible, this is too much. I think even the really hard bits, I just think it's all worth it, and it's not been that hard that we've kind of doubted if we can do it, if that makes sense.
If you're starting your adventure, or you're thinking of starting your adventure, still just use this as an inspiration. Don't be put off by anything. It's doable. If we have done this, I can assure you anyone can do it. And I know that everyone says that. We genuinely, we hadn't sailed before getting Talisman, and we only had about 100-ish nautical miles under our belt when we first set off on this adventure. Not the wisest thing to do, I will say, but you know, start your own adventures in your own ways. And yeah, it's awesome seeing the people that send us pictures and stuff that they're on their journeys as well. So yeah, I hope this inspires other people to do the same. We're
gonna wrap up now because it is actually getting dark and it's only 4 PM in England right now. So yeah, we've still got a few more videos to come out of us getting to the Mediterranean. This is just a real-time update because we really wanted to get you back on track with where we are. So, and there's a few more videos for you to catch up on, and then when we've caught you up, you'll be back on real time with us, basically.
And we have some kind of cool stuff coming up.
We do,
which is really fun, and we can't tell you about it just yet. But can't wait for you guys to see it as well. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this video. It's been really fun sharing all this information with you. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you want to stay up to date with real time, head over to our Instagram.
Yeah. And thank you all so much for all your support so far and watching the videos, and I hope you're all okay. Drop us a comment, let us know what you're up to, if you've got any questions and stuff. So yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye guys.
So as you may have noticed, this video has come out a little bit earlier than we usually would release our videos. But that's because we're doing a live stream with Force 4 tomorrow, Thursday the 16th of December. So if you want to join along with this live stream, please tune in at 4:30 Thursday the 16th of December. You can watch along on our channel Chasing Currents or on Force 4's own channels as well. We'll be answering questions and talking about our journey so far. See you then!